What is going on, everybody? James Hancock here. I'm back to discuss something absolutely incredible that I never would have discovered if not for the people that follow this channel. And I've tried real hard to find the original comment but was unsuccessful. I got it on my Starfield video, but they must have deleted it. But a few days ago, someone suggested that I check out the early access version of World of Horror on Steam. And I watched the trailer. I was immediately intrigued. First of all, it was just creepy as hell. And as I was watching this little 1-minute trailer, I kept thinking to myself, like, holy shit, here's this concept that's managing to stir together so many things that I find interesting. It's basically scratching a lot of itches all at once. And I'm talking about the short stories of people like H.P. Lovecraft and that kind of cosmic, otherworldly, almost indifferent horror in a lot of ways. And best of all, the manga by people like Junji Ito, and I'm a recent convert to Junji Ito. I've only read a couple of his stories, but Uzumaki, it will absolutely knock you on your back, as will the game World of Horror. And the most unusual facet of this game's appeal is the fact that it's going for this old school, one-bit, kind of late 80s Mac aesthetic, like where it's going back to the world of like mysteries and tabletop RPGs. But here's a little pic from my childhood where I can't remember if it was my first Mac or my second, but I grew up playing a lot of like one-bit classics, games like Pool of Radiance, which was my first D&D game, The Bard's Tale, and probably my all-time favorite Mac classic, Shufflepuck Cafe. And I don't know if this is a style or an aesthetic that will appeal to people who are half my age or even younger. Like, I don't know if you need to have lived through the late 80s to like this game. I don't think so. It reminds me a little bit when Cuphead came out a couple years ago, where they were employing that Fleischer Brothers animation style from the 1930s. And there were tons of people who loved that game, who never saw those cartoons from the 30s and 40s. They should go back and watch those cartoons, but they weren't required to. And I think the same thing's going to happen here, where you might be just some weird 15-year-old goth kid who likes horror and anime and manga and all that stuff, and you might just get sucked into this game irrespective of your age. And best of all, the full game is coming our way on October 19th. And I know there are people out there who've been messing around with the early access for years, patiently waiting for this game to come out. Not to worry, I'm not going to share any spoilers whatsoever. And I'm going to do something on this channel which I've not done in years, and I'm going to include a walkthrough with commentary of the tutorial / first mystery that you get exposed to in this game. Like, I don't want to do any spoilers from the main gaming experience, which took me about an hour to clear. But the tutorial feels like fair game, and that way you'll really get a sense of like the gameplay, the flavor, the atmosphere, the moments that completely freaked me out. So I'll include a link to that down in the description below, or the time code for that part of the video. But basically, just think of it as like a little appetizer before the main game. And the main game, I don't want to oversell it because, once again, this is a small game, but it's one that is dripping in macabre atmosphere. It's got all these fascinating mysteries to solve, and it's got all these weird, otherworldly threats that you'll want them to hurt you just so you can see all the various outcomes, because the game, like the role-playing game Call of Cthulhu, or like the fiction of Lovecraft, you slowly lose your sanity. You slowly accumulate all these little maladies or crippling deformities, but at the same time, you also gain levels, spells, allies, weapons. So you're not completely helpless. You're basically somebody with like a few clues, a few magical tricks, and dwindling sanity, and you've got this classic racing clock or ticking clock scenario where you're trying to solve a mystery before all hell breaks loose in your town or your school or whatever. But before I get to my walkthrough, I do need to share a little behind-the-scenes information, which I'm ripping straight from Wikipedia, but I found this to be absolutely fascinating, so bear with me. World of Horror, also known by its Japanese title Kyofu no Sekai, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, is a role-playing game with a one-bit pixel art style inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft and Junji Ito. The game was created by Polish developer Paweł Kozminski and published by Yzbrid Games. It was released into early access on February 20th, 2020 through Steam, GOG.com, and Microsoft Store. But the full game is set to be released on October 19th, 2023 for existing macOS and Windows platforms, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. The game takes place in the town of Shibuya, Japan, where the player must explore various locations and fight otherworldly creatures in order to halt the apocalypse. And here's the most interesting part. The game's developer, Paweł Kozminski, aka Panstaz, worked on the game part-time in between his work as a dentist. All the in-game artwork was designed using MS Paint with additional writing provided by author Cassandra Kaw. Music was composed by Arc of Dream and Questa. Interest in a console release has been expressed since 2020, and a release date was revealed during Nintendo's Indie World Showcase in November of 2022. All I can say is that this guy sounds like the coolest fucking dentist in history, and I find stories like this to be so incredibly inspiring, where he's got his day job, he's paying his bills, he's living his normal life, but he's got a side gig where he's exploring his passion and creating this really cool, interesting, groundbreaking game that pulls from so many different influences. And it reminds me quite a bit of the spirit of independent filmmaking that was very much in vogue in the 1990s. When I was in high school and in college, you had all these amazing filmmakers that were making movies for, very little money, and many of them kind of broke through and hit the big time. People like Quentin Tarantino, but they started small, and it was just there was there was something in the water where there were just so many filmmakers that were going their own way and making movies independently financed outside the studio system. And it gave the entire movie landscape this much-needed shot in the arm and all this much-needed new creativity that it was basically able to kind of coast on for many years after. And everything about the creation of this game reminds me of a spirit of invention, that spirit of creativity. But it's just incredible to me how much bang for your buck you get with this relatively inexpensive game, and how with almost no resources, this game was able to deliver a really potent, intense horror experience that it almost doesn't feel right calling it a video game, because in a lot of ways it almost feels like reading like a choose-your-own-adventure novel or short fiction or manga. Like it's almost like we need like a new category to describe this kind of storytelling experience. But no matter how you want to categorize it, you will definitely remember playing it. But it's just so funny to me how in 2023 we've come full circle back to 1-bit gaming, because I can remember when I got my Super Nintendo in either 1990 or 1991, it was all about the 16-bit gaming experience. Like, oh my God, 16-bit, like where will games go from here? But I guess the answer was they're going to eventually go backwards, back to where they came from, to 1-bit. But goddamn, the overall experience, I mean, it's just so fucking satisfying. But maybe I've yammered enough at this point, and it's time to show y'all some gameplay. And if you enjoyed this, maybe I'll go back and do another commentary track for some of the additional content in the early access, or maybe I'll do it again when the official game comes out. But let's let the tutorial / first mystery rip in 3, 2, 1. I started my recording a few seconds too late, but anyway, you'll get all the gameplay. So just listen to those tunes, let them flow through you. But yeah, the music in this game is awesome, and you'll notice in my gameplay where like my mouse is hovering, I'm trying to show off different aspects, like 1-bit versus 2-bit, and the different color options you have. But I went for just the classic color scheme. So those are the two main stories you can pick: spine-chilling story of School Scissors, which is what you're going to see, or extracurricular activity, which is a considerably deeper story. And here I'm just messing around with some of the difficulty settings and some of the combat settings, and you can definitely set it on the easy side, or you can make it as merciless as you like if you just want to get your spine ripped out. Yeah, so the mysteries are all in this town, but I guess it's cosmic horror that is affecting the entire planet, but you see through the lens of your experiences here. Also, I don't know if I should read everything to y'all or not. I'm thinking not, just because, I don't know, I just want to do commentary as opposed to reading. Anyway, cool character, magic, clues, dwindling sanity, and you're off to the races with this little small town mystery. Doom Town, as they describe it. Alright, so there you can see you've got like stamina, you've got reason, you got a few stats. If you run out of reason, you'll go fucking crazy. You also have like a doom meter that you have to keep track of, and if the doom reaches 100, well, I never saw it happen, but I'm sure something horrible happens. But you start off with a straight razor and a little bit of food, where you can get back some reason if you lose it due to something horrible happening. It's such a cool story. Spine-chilling story of School Scissors. You'll learn all about that in due time. But yeah, the mystery starts with this notebook that you found with your friend. And the notebook, it actually, you think it's just an exposition dump, but it actually has one major clue that will allow you to clear this part of the story. Tall woman with with scissors. Yeah, she freaked me out. Alright, so there I am going into the diary to do a little inspection, and they got a few little clues about where to go and where to look for things and what items you're going to need, but you have to also pay careful attention to the diagram and exactly how it's drawn, because there are a couple different options. Every time you start this story, it's going to be a different diagram, so you can't just like assume you know what that diagram needs to be. But here's the locker room. I never figured out how to open up that first locker, but this baseball bat, very useful weapon. Putting it to good use in due time. And here's an example where something freaked me out and it hurt my reason, and I took a little penalty. So the reason has already gone down a little bit, but there I can eat the food and I can get the reason back. But slowly but surely your reason will get chipped away at. So basically what we need to do is we need to find these candles and we need to find the chalk, because we can't... Oh, this girl, when I first saw her, she totally freaked me out. And she wants some help. I decline, which then she grabs me, hurting my reason again. So you can see the reason keeps getting chipped away at. But then I got a little experience for helping her, and in this opening tutorial, experience isn't that important, but in the bigger story, experience is much more important, where you'll pass multiple levels and get a lot of perks and bonuses. And I don't have this perk for the tutorial, so I just have to look at this doll and take the hit to my reason. Yeah, it's just a dead corpse, but if I resolve the event, then... oh, it's just an additional page, and it tells me where to find the chalk, so I have to go exploring and look for the chalk. This is great. You have the option to peek outside the door, so you can interact with the images, and I couldn't figure out how to slide the door, but when I do, I jump. But anyway, I'm recording this after playing it because I didn't know how well or poorly I'd be doing. But yeah, the little upside down head is fantastic. And then you can't open the door again. So keep exploring. This is a pure solo experience, but I love this one. Yeah, just a big giant eye in the sky. The barrier between worlds is coming apart. You must hurry or risk being noticed by whatever other eldritch horrors still lurk here. That's so fucking cool. But I gained experience by doing a dexterity check. I failed the dexterity check, but gained experience. It just shows you how even if something bad happens, something good can happen. But now I've got the chalk. Oh, also, during early access, you can't save your game, but if you look at my character, you can see that his physical appearance is starting to change. So every weird encounter that you have might leave a mark on you physically and change you. And yeah, my reason keeps going down. Yeah, so I was just checking one last time to make sure that I've got the art correct. There, I'm changing some of the options. They're subtle, but they matter. There, I finally settled on the right one. At least I was pretty confident it was the right one, as it turns out. It turns out to be the right one, as you'll see in a couple seconds. So now it is time to find the candles. Yeah, and this, just a little freaky thing that's eating away at my stamina. Beating heart inside of an anatomy model. Alright, so this is the ticking clock. The sound of scissors getting louder and closer. Something's coming to get me. I see another beating heart, freaks me out again, but now I finally found the candle and I can start the ritual. And this is where you'll find out if you got the drawing right, but something outside the door, banging at it. And the art is so simple, but it's effective. It freaked me out. There she is. Look at that nice sideways head, 3 faces. Am I beautiful? For some reason that dialogue really freaked me out. Alright, so now you're going to get an example of combat. Combat's a little weird in terms of how you can put certain buffs on your actions before picking them, but you basically have to put together sequences, launch the sequence, and hope good things happen. And so what I do is a little buff to guarantee that I hit, followed by a heavy strike and a light strike. And I've got the wooden bat equipped for this encounter. So there I'm stacking my sequence together, letting it rip. And I got one hit in and one miss. And now we're into turn 2. I know some people don't like turn-based RPGs, but I grew up playing D&D, so I fucking love turn-based. I am trying to show you just a little bit of variety in terms of the different style of attacks you can do and what buffs you can apply. And she's starting to rip me up as well. See, my stamina's going down. She's covering the wall in blood. And yeah, you can only take a few hits before you're fucked. Like, yes, my reason's already down to 9. Another hit, another miss, and she hits me. My reason's at 7, my stamina's at 9. And I'm not even playing on a particularly high difficulty setting. I need to go back and play it on the highest. And there we go. Beat her, 15 experience. And you don't have to worry about leveling up in the tutorial, but it is something that will be a major part in the kind of the bigger story option. So there we are. We got the ending A, and it encourages you to go back and play the game in different ways to see the different endings. And yeah, I just can't wait to find out all the various nooks and crannies to the experience. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that. That is the end of my official tutorial playthrough. And now it's the moment of truth where I see if I'm still recording, and yes I am. Beautiful. Yeah, sometimes my webcam will freak out and it'll just freeze up and it won't be able to process what I filmed. I basically shoot in like 2 to 3 minute little clips, but that was 9 minutes and we made it through. So hope you enjoyed that little change of pace. I think for people who have subscribed to this channel in the past, I mean there are 32,000 of them, probably like, where are all the like film reviews and TV reviews? I promise they are coming. New York Film Festival. My press screenings begin on the 21st, and I'm just going to be like just bombarding with this channel with all sorts of film reviews for the kind of art house and indie films that have been coming out over the course of the fall and winter. So I'm looking forward to getting back to some film and TV commentary. But in the interim, there's just so little going on in the world of film and television right now. It's hard for a channel like this to know like what to cover and like keep things going. I don't just want to talk about the strike every day. That's going to get so goddamn boring. But I will be seeing Outlaw Johnny Black on Thursday. So if you're missing the movie reviews, I promise they're going to be returning in the very near future. So if you have any recommendations for upcoming games, upcoming books, upcoming shows, obviously, I mean, there are a million things you can cover when it comes to gaming history and literary history, but it seems like traffic is always better when you're covering things that are new and coming our way. So once again, whoever recommended that I tackle World of Horror, you have my gratitude because I love the game. And I'll definitely be diving in on October 19th. But I think that's all the commentary I've got for now. Thank you for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please consider hitting that notification bell, hitting the like button, hunting me down on social media at Colbrax. But once again, thank you so much for watching. But more importantly, as always, onwards and upwards.